As promised, by bringing on the head coach of Siena men's basketball. It's been, a little more than 3 months. It's still taking some getting used to that he's no longer at Syracuse, but we're pleased to welcome back Gerry McNamara to ESPN Radio Syracuse. Gerry, great to have you on. First time we've talked since you landed the job, at least the first time we've talked on air, I guess I should say. We ran into each other at the Boeheim Ball. Congratulations on the job. How are things going?
It's going well. What a blessing you guys have today, Paul. He's not in studio. I mean, what a blessing. It's going great. It was kind of the whirlwind quick where you're just hitting the ground running in terms of recruiting and things of that nature. And together we had, I've talked about it before, not with you guys. We had 13 straight days, 9 kids over 13 straight days on a visit. We went 9 for 9 in recruiting in that stretch with guys that touched campus. And the 9th guy actually flipped a commitment to another school, a very big school. So I can't be too upset with that. So just really efficient, really fun. And then really the last 5 weeks have been great, getting the guys on campus, working with them. I gave them off the last, I wanted them to spend some time with family in the house. So I gave the 4th to the 14th off, and we'll get back at it on the 15th. So I just moved in yesterday, so I'm in my son Patrick's room. My stand is a dinosaur skull, so I'm just trying to piece it together. We got a bunch of boxes still we got to get through, so just kind of settling in here now.
I was going to ask you if you got a place out there yet. I know you're all kind of piling into one apartment there for a bit, so I'm glad that you've got a house now. The 2 orders of business going in were roster reconstruction and assembling a staff. And you just updated us on the roster reconstruction. How about the staff? And it's guys we know, right? Arinze Onuaku and Ryan Blackwell. And how did that all come together? And how much does it help you bringing in guys that you trust as you look to lead a program for the first time?
It was huge. I mean, it came about, really early on. I had conversations with those guys. Ben Lee from Washington was really the first guy, with obviously Hop going through what he did. Ben and I had our own relationship, and I just liked the fact of how young and hungry he was, his background. Hop loved him. But it was really the conversation and the relationship that I had with Ben. So to be able to get, who was the youngest Power 5 assistant coach in college basketball last year, to hear me with Siena right away, through those first initial conversations and possible position, those first 2 weeks, he and I were on the phone for hours at a time in terms of, putting some targets together of who we would recruit if I did get the job. Then I had talked to Arinze and Ryan, and I kind of had those guys ready to go just in case it happened. And Ryan Bury kind of fell on my lap late, which I was lucky. It gets him a little bit closer to home. He got married this summer. His wife's from up here. So I just feel really, really blessed for getting people I trust, but people that work, they're committed, they understand what we're trying to do. So I couldn't feel more lucky than I do than to have the people around me that I do. They motivate me. I hope I do the same for them, and I want to do right by them, their families, and get this thing going in the right direction.
Now, Gerry, we've obviously gotten to know each other, very well over the last several years. And, I know you were ready for this and ready for this for a while, but you wanted to pick the right spot, the right fit. You wanted to set yourself up for success. So with all that being said, why was this the right time, the right job for you and your family?
I think the first thing you got to understand, Steve, and in your field, of how difficult it is to get a head coaching position. It's so hard. The field is so competitive. There are so many quality candidates. So whether you think you're ready or not, in a lot of ways, doesn't matter. It's about who's willing to give you the chance to prove you're ready. And I just feel really lucky that I have ties to this area. I know a lot of people. I think my time at Syracuse, and then in particular this last transition with Adrian taking over, being by his side to go through that, I think probably helped me too. But it wasn't about picking a place. It was about, who would give you the opportunity to prove what you think you're capable of doing. And I wouldn't have picked a better position. I really wouldn't. To get a chance to coach here, a place I really believe in. I think this is an incredible. I've said it multiple times over the last few months. I just feel like it matches a lot of the reasons of why I chose to go to Syracuse out of high school. It's got rich tradition and it's got incredible support. And then you sprinkle in the other things. The one thing at Cuse is like we could always sell the Carrier Dome. Now the JMA Wireless, and you could always sell MVP Arena, which used to be the Pepsi. So there's just so many varying factors of why I think this was the perfect fit for me. But the most thing I'm grateful for is the fact that they felt the same way. Because it's so difficult. Yeah. You can think it all you want, but you need someone else to feel the same vision you do. And just really lucky, really lucky that I'm right up 90, in a great area. We like I said, we're closing on the house and feel like we're in a great neighborhood similar to Syracuse. So I'm just really, really grateful for the opportunity.
I know you're excited about what's next and embarking on this new journey. I'm sure that it was difficult to say goodbye to Syracuse as well. Can you share with us at all maybe a conversation or two you had with whether it was Red or Griff or the returning players, a guy like J.J. Starling or Kyle Cuff? I mean, how did you kind of break the news to the players and how did they respond, as you were about to move on to bigger and better things?
Red and I had... He was by my side for the whole thing. I was completely transparent of what was happening. Like if I got a call at work, I would go and, hey, Red, this is what's going on. The unfortunate thing is that everybody rushed to conclusions when my name was leaked to the job. So every coach doesn't like that because they don't get the opportunity to have the real conversations with the players. So before any of this was true, before I had even been called on this job, my name was leaked to it. So there was a phone call that JJ called me one night and said, "Is this true?" And he and I talked for a while. And you develop, how I work, and I once this stops being about relationships for me, I shouldn't do it anymore. And when we had a really kind of heart-to-heart conversation, and none of it had come to fruition yet in terms of what they were speculating on the Twitter, or the X. So when I got off the phone, I guess Katie could hear the conversation, and she was crying. And in that moment, I knew, as upsetting as it was for me, that JJ, I felt the same way with Mike Hopkins when he was up for jobs, because you think like this bond, and it was that conversation when I saw her in tears that I knew it was the right time, as strange as that sounds, because I felt like I'm doing it the right way. If people are upset that I'm not going to be here, then I'm doing things right. And that was very comforting to me, as equally as upsetting it was comforting. The fact that I would be leaving someone that I love and JJ and had a chance to work with them, guys like Chance and Kyle. But at the same time, I'd be able to give that same love and attention to other players as the head coach. So that moment for me was kind of a turning point in terms of how I thought about the process of what I can bring to a program and set aside the emotional draw to it. And I didn't have a chance I really didn't have a chance to go back in the last few months and reminisce about what I was leaving because I was in it. I was in it so fast that I couldn't. And then yesterday it hit me really, really hard leaving our house. And we left yesterday at 6:30 in the morning to come up here and close at 9 a.m. And when we were leaving, the dog was crying. And I was already avoiding my kids and my wife because I was already emotional about leaving the home. But when the dog was crying, I mean, it crushed me because I started thinking about, we took two kids into that house, our last two, Grace and Patrick, and our previous dog Brady had passed away in that house. So that was really, I mean, it hit me hard yesterday as I was getting in the car to come up here of what I was leaving, and it wasn't the structure, it was the memories and the structure, and so to come here and hopefully bring the same joy and love into this house as we were blessed to have in the last one.
Well said as always, Gerry. Now that you've had a little time to reflect, because you said you've been in it, it's been a whirlwind for the last 3 months or so. You've reflected about your memories, kind of off the court. Have you been able to reflect on what Syracuse University has meant to you and the SU basketball program and Jim Boeheim and all the players that you've worked with and played with? Have you been able to reflect on that at all?
I don't, I think I've done that in terms of, my emotional tie to the place over the years. I've been very, very clear about how I feel about the university and the community. So I don't think I'll always be tied to it. I'll always watch it. I'll always be rooting for it. I'm not far away. If I have a chance to watch a Syracuse game, I'm going to watch it every single time it's on. I said it in my press conference. I've got the Sienna gear on, but I didn't give away everything Syracuse because first and foremost, it's my alma mater. It's where I graduated school from. It's where I raised 4 kids. So, I don't get into, in terms of, if someone asked me even where I stand, where do you think you stand? It doesn't matter. Like, as long as you feel like you hopefully left it better after there, that was always kind of my mindset as a player was, I was very, very proud of the fact that the 4 years, not just the national championship, but the 2 Big East tournament titles, the league title freshman year, but 4 NCAA tournament appearances, and then the emotional tie to multiple Final Fours, and just so many great young men I've been able to hopefully impact, and you left your imprint in terms of. Was I a good community member and did I do right by the university? And, I'd like to walk away thinking I did those things.
Yeah, no doubt about that. I know a common question that I get and speculation, I'm sure you get it as well. Will we see Syracuse Siena play in the not too distant future? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, we were close. We were close to the NCAA, I believe, just turned it down, but I know they dabbled with the idea of playing the extra exhibitions. So when that came out, we did have initial conversations about it. We were kind of just waiting for the ruling, and I think they shot that down. So it could have been early as this year that we'd be able to match up. And I think that would have been great. I think it would have been so much fun. But, I know Pete, of course, Sneedy, who, handles a lot of the scheduling. So I've been kind of with him over all these years. And I know they're scheduled out. So definitely not this year. And I think they might be as early as next year. The non-conference is scheduled out. So it's not going to happen in the, immediate near future. But, down the road, hopefully both programs are in really good states and we can make something happen. I think they'd have to come to MVP, that might have to be part of the deal. I don't think that'll go over too well. So, I'd like to make it happen. It'd be really neat to come back and coach in the Carrier in the JMA Dome. And, Red and I joked about it. I've seen him a couple times on the road recruiting, and, we joked about how awkward it would be. But again, my schedule is not out, but I know it. And, I'm coaching against a lot of guys that I'm friends with in this industry. So it's something down the road I hope we can make happen.